Well lads, can't talk right now. I need to train. I need to become worthy of wearing this Team Ireland jersey, and I only see two viable methods of this being possible. Number one is going to be going ahead and putting in the blood, sweat and tears in order to actually attain the skills that I need and to be worthy of it. And the other involves tying this green sash around my head. I mean, how could it fail? Every character does it in the movies. Surely it'll work.
Defeat.
Well, you can't expect to win them all.
Slap.
Defeat.
You know, that's honestly my fault, since when could Hollywood be trusted?
The practice range, for when regular reactions aren't enough. We've all used a practice range. They exist in practically every single online multiplayer game. It's honestly harder to not find one. And while most practice tools these days range from incredible to good enough, it did take some time to get here. You know, in fairness, the Perfect Dark training range is actually pretty solid, but it's fucking Perfect Dark, so who cares? We're a goal in my household anyway. We all know what a training range is. A room with no immediate threats to the player, where they can practice, a lot of the time being used as the tutorial. Brilliant, wonderful, amazing. But what about the more notable ones? Well, I'm gonna go on a quest to find out. And by that, I mean I'm opening my Steam library and looking at the shelf that contains my Switch games to try and discover if the echo chamber I built myself has any diverging paths. Starting with our newest chamber, Marvel Rivals. And I mean, honestly, the first thing I have to say is, why is it so massive? Like, imagine asking someone for a space to practice and they give you 7 football fields. Though it does have everything that a good practice range should. Different ways to simulate enemy heroes, team-up activation, a load of incredibly easy to hit, slow-moving, massive hitbox robots. I mean, we got it all. To be fair, for Rivals itself, specifically the team-up practice and even the destructible environment zone, this is actually a pretty kitted out training range, even though it does have some random spots with just nothing going on. Though that's more indicative of the Marvel Rivals map design itself, but that's a different discussion. And its shooting range is actually pretty solid, letting you sort through all kinds of settings from characters to movement paths. But there's one thought I have which is kind of indicative of my thoughts on all practice range spaces. They don't really help you improve, or at least not in the way you expect. Sure, you can hop in, take a look at the new character you want to try, see what they do, get a brief grip, but none of it is really practice, or maybe just not in my book. I mean, it's all definitely useful when you're first learning or trying out characters for the first time just to see who you vibe with, especially with the team-up training for Marvel Rivals specifically. But has anyone ever used the destructible environment training that it offers? All the places with robots don't really give you much except a grasp on your breakpoints with how easy they are to hit, which just leaves the shooting range, and as a warm-up, this is great. I always use it for 10 or so minutes before I queue up, so I don't end up looking like I'm playing Rivals while cooking a 3-course meal on the side. But as aim training?
It's Marvel feckin' Rivals. Why are you trying to aim train against an AI movement mantis?
And that's something you see in a lot of shooter training ranges. They'll have their own mini version of aim labs or Kovacs and all these other aim training tools. But do they work as well? It depends. In the first place, I think all the mini ranges you'll see in games like Valorant, Apex, and Overwatch are good things to have. There's literally no downside to their inclusion. But as aim training, I think they're worse off than the dedicated apps for it, and in the first place, I just think those apps are a waste. I mean, sure, if you do 15 minutes a day in either the game ranges or the apps, your aim will improve. But it'll also improve alongside all your other skills if you just play the damn game. In fairness, a lot of the time people will just use the practice tool to get a combo down, like to stick with Marvel Rivals just for a moment. Spider-Man players will start pulling ability uses I've never seen before out in the training tool, just to try and see if there's any real game application for it. But once you got the real buttons down, any further practice in the range is just going to result in some diminishing returns, because you need to see how real people react to it. And while I said it earlier, this is why I have a strange relationship with the practice range as a concept. I mean, they should never not be included. Absolutely no reason not to. But it's always called a practice range when it doesn't offer much in terms of practice. It just doesn't really live up to its name. In fairness to Marvel Rivals, I'm being a little bit pedantic here. If you really got nothing else and you just don't want to play normally, that little shooting range will work great, I suppose. But I'd like to travel a little bit back in time to show how my current actions earned me this diagnosis from my friends. Overwatch. Whatever you think of this game now, one thing can't be denied. This training range is grand. We can spawn in only one enemy. We can swap around the teams of bots. There's a little shooting range room only with the bots. You know, while it's grand now, before we had nothing. When I was 12, back in 2017, playing Overwatch for the first time, I loaded into the practice range and my only thought was, what practice can be done right after, holy shit, is that a talking monkey? This memory was only unearthed after one of my friends messaged me just saying you should make a video on practice ranges, and I've realized that I've had an undiscovered burning desire to talk about these for years. The old Overwatch practice range was terrible, let's be real lads. It was slowly improved, the hero spawner added specifically for Echo was lovely, but in general, even in the modern state, the Overwatch practice range is like any other. Grand for a warm-up or checking out a new character, but not that helpful for actual practice. That is, until the workshop was added. Then shit got serious. These are real practice tools. Pharah 1v1s, shatter blocks, even the fun game modes like Lucio Surf or Doom Parkour double as incredible tools to help you learn the movement of these characters. Obviously, devs can't implement stuff like this, or at least not in full capacity. Overwatch tried a kind of mini version of them with Hero Mastery, but can everyone who has played Hero Mastery raise their hand? Weird fucks do not count. But you know what practice tool that's just weird? League. Now pretty recently it just got updated to have actual multiplayer. 15 years in? Most practice tools are for your mechanics, combat-oriented, things of that nature. But League, at best, you can take a look at your damage possibilities at different stages, theory craft some combos, get a little bit used to them, but it's not going to help you much in the long run compared to just going full blazing in ARAM or just an actual game. But as a previous jungler, I can say with confidence, this tool is great for actual practice. Trying out your clear to get some optimal times, and if you're a filthy fiddle player like I was, learning the perfect spots for multicamp clearing when it was possible is something this tool is incredible for. Even for new players, when you're struggling with last hitting, you can just hop in and do it for 15 minutes in a less stressful environment, then allowing you to focus on dealing with your lane opponent while last hitting more consistently in a real setting. I still can't believe it took 15 years to let multiple people into the practice tool though, like this is insane. As a practice tool, however, League is certainly an odd one. It works great for pretty much everything outside of combat, which in fairness you don't technically need to kill people to win. Stuff like your first jungle clears and item build theory crafting are made way easier thanks to this tool, so I have to say, fair play to Riot, which is a rarity these days. Like, what do you mean it takes 8 years to unlock every champion now? Though there's one genre of game where my thoughts on the training tool are conflicting in ways previously thought unimaginable: fighting games. Though I need to clarify something, and it's that I am irrelevant. Yeah, so I only play Guilty Gear Strive and I'll hop on Smash with my friends if we have items turned on, so I cannot speak for every fighting game or how it's been in their history, because as much as I really want to give Street Fighter 6 a try, the universe has other plans. Now with me coming from Overwatch and League, where my attitude to improving was always give me 2 minutes to look at what they do and then put me in coach, getting into Guilty Gear was painful, because you can't do that. I'm trying to learn a new language and these mix-ups feel like slurs. Unlike in the games I'm more used to, the training mode here, and I would assume in all fighting games, is pretty much a necessity. Now, if you just want to have fun, you don't need to spend 12 hours staring at the screen, just know your buttons and have at it. But I did find that just constantly trying a combo just to get it into my muscle memory was immensely helpful, and it's a lot easier since Strive has an immediate reset button for the mode. The practice range feels like it can be used for real practice. You can't fully rely on it. I will always say that the best way to learn and practice is to just play the game with your brain turned on. However, in comparison to the training modes I'm most experienced with, this blows them out of the water, especially with the amount of settings, since you can record the enemy to perform a set of moves to simulate playing against a real player in certain situations. It's insane. Well, if someone were to hop onto Strive, spend hours in the training mode, and then just hop into a match with no thoughts except finding the windows of time to mash the combo they learned, they won't really have the best time. The instant one move gets blocked, they won't have the knowledge on how to respond. But it would work out a lot better for them when compared to something like just spamming training range at practice in League or Apex, which is just really cool to me. The fact there is a training mode which works as training is just great to see when you're used to floating robots that move at half the regular player speed being labeled as target practice. Now, even with Strive having a better training mode than any other game I play, I'm still far too much of a put me in coach type person. I'll just learn a combo then rush into game immediately because I just find it way more fun to learn that way, even if it's a little bit inefficient. And I'm pretty sure it just works better for me either way because I'm just enjoying myself. But regardless, I have to respect Strive for having a mode that actually lives up to its name. Also, Fire Emblem Three Houses and Ultra Kill both have practice ranges as well. I just thought that was funny. Like, Button Mash McGee gives you an option to test things as if you needed to test anything other than your thumb's ability to hit the same button a couple hundred times. And then Ultra Kill is just GM Construct. I mean, who would I be to complain? I love GM Construct.
You know, after all this, I think I've finally figured out what it means to practice. And it's not sitting in the Overwatch training range for 7 hours, damn it.